You're listening to the Health and Wellness Podcast, curated by Dr. Lori Marzell. Dr. Marzell is a primary care physician and a certified menopause practitioner that combines the wisdom of natural medicine with modern medicine to help maintain optimal health. She has a special focus in food allergies and bioidentical hormone replacement. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dr. Marzell. Today I'd like to talk about a subject that seems to be of great interest to many of my patients, and that is brain health. Many of them have started wondering what they can do to keep their brain sharp and functional as they age and get to midlife and beyond. They often ask how they can preserve their brain function. The good news is that there are many things that can be done to help the brain to continue its job throughout the years. However, first I'd like to review some of the things that can hurt brain function and why. Now, one of the biggest offenders on anti-brain list is alcohol. Years ago, several comics made fun of alcoholics by imitating the fuzzy speech, the difficulty with balance, and the sloppy mannerisms. It was considered acceptable and even funny at the time. Actually, what happens is there is a poisoning of various areas of the brain that are responsible for balance, speech, and, of course, cognition. Alcohol injures the brain by causing inflammation. It also injures the liver, which tries desperately to detoxify and rid the body of alcohol. In addition, it also injures the gut. This will cause permeability of the gut mucosa, which then can have bacteria from the gut leaking into the body itself, as well as the toxins that these bacteria can produce, called endotoxins. The endotoxins can affect the brain, which means it's going to cause direct inflammation and cognitive dysfunction. The body tries to come to the rescue by releasing chemicals to kill offending toxins. Alcohol can even adversely affect stem cells, which produce and repair brain cells. So it's just like a nightmare, hurting almost every function of the brain. The repeating of alcohol exposure and the resulting inflammation is related to an increased risk of nerve disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, Parkinson's disease, vitamin deficiencies such as B12, folate, and B1. The vitamin deficiencies can induce peripheral nerve damage as well, starting usually with a numbness and tingling in the toes. As things progress, the tingling and numbness will climb up and start working its way up towards the body. Patients with chronic gut problems should definitely avoid alcohol to avoid the inflammatory response and the gut damage. What other foods can cause harm to the brain? Well, you guessed it, sugar. Although the brain must have simple sugar to function, its management of that sugar is essential to produce good function and discourage increased inflammation and damage to brain cells. I guess you probably realize by now that inflammation plays a huge part in healthy tissues, and that includes the brain. The mechanism for blood sugar management is basically, if you eat something sugary, let's say a candy bar, blood sugar will increase, of course. It will be higher than needed for what the body would like. So what the body will do is produce insulin, which will go to cells, hook into an insulin receptor, and request they open up and store the excessive sugar. How wise the body is. The problem arises when insulin receptors are not quite as spry as they once were. We call this insulin insensitivity. When this occurs, more insulin is produced to hammer on the receptors to do their job, open up, and take some of the excessive sugar to store. The problem with this is that insulin is a very pro-inflammatory hormone. And again, inflammation is not good for the brain. We now know that although insulin is produced in the pancreas, it's transported to the brain as well as other tissues. The struggle to maintain the body's appropriate level of blood sugar and overproduction of insulin is what diabetes is all about. But it's important to realize a diet high in simple sugars makes it difficult to balance the body's need for glucose. This type of diet causes surges in increased sugar, resulting in increased insulin and increased inflammation and tissue damage. So we can add to the list diabetes or blood sugar problems, doesn't have to be the full diabetes, as a factor that can harm the brain as well as other organs. Change in diet is enormously beneficial in avoiding simple sugars, trending to proteins, lots of vegetables, whole grains, whole fresh fruit. You will feel better and your body will work better. Weight will come off, your brain will sharpen up, and it will be protected. So now that you're aware of a small part of the things you can do to protect your brain, we're going to be doing a series on all kinds of supplements and how they protect your brain as well. So be ready to have a pretty darn sharp brain at the end of this series. Thanks for listening for today, and I look forward to doing some more talks on this very important issue.
Thank you so much for listening. If you learned something, don't forget to share with a friend. You can visit us at www.drmarzell.com. We create content for you. If there's a subject we have not discussed or a topic you want to dive deeper into, let us know how we can empower you. Questions can be submitted on our website under the podcast page. Until next time.